The Trump administration has been revoking the visas of several students and prepping them for deportation. Of course, the story started with Mahmoud Khalil, one of the organizers of the anti-Israel, pro-Palestine protests that we saw at Columbia University, which quickly spread to many other universities. There are several other postgraduate students or students who have had their visas revoked. These are not people who entered the country illegally. These are people who are in our university system who came here legally on visas, who have spoken out against Israel in some fashion and are now seeing their visas revoked and being deported. The latest story to go viral is about a Tufts student. I believe she's Turkish. There's a viral video showing plainclothes officers approach and arrest her as she screams. Now, what's interesting about this story is it touches on a variety of subjects, but largely the conflict in Israel and Palestine, foreign policy. You've got a weird split between the left and the right, as some elements of the right that are very critical of Israel are saying this is a bad thing, which is weird because now you've got people that are in favor of non-citizens having rights in this country while they simultaneously call for the deportation of other individuals who may have come to this country legally, notably those who were offered that sponsored status from Joe Biden, creating let's just call it a strange circumstance of political opinion. One thing that I can say is if it is against U.S. foreign policy, the U.S. typically doesn't tolerate it. And Donald Trump is firmly on the side of providing support for Israel. And thus, the students we are seeing that are having their visas revoked, principally they're anti-Israel. Now, some of these make a ton of sense. Mahmoud Khalil organized a violent protest where you could argue riot, but it was a large protest. And then it delved into the areas of vandalism and violence when they seized buildings, threatened and harmed employees, and even attacked students. Now, Mahmoud Khalil himself did not do this, but he was the organizer of it. And he may have actually participated in the seizure of these buildings. That right there, I think it's simple. Guys on a temporary green card, you revoke it and you say, you got to go. But there are several other students. In this instance, the story is going viral because the Tufts student had her visa revoked, or it is in the process of being revoked, because she authored an anti-Israel paper about a year ago. This lends itself to the larger deportation conversation. This morning, MS-13, one of its leaders, was captured just south of D.C. by the DOJ. And of course, there is the general conversation about Donald Trump's mass deportations, due process, and otherwise. Now, while this is going on, and one of the top trends in the country is a Tufts student being grabbed by plainclothes officers and an MS-13 officer being a top official, I should say, for MS-13 or whatever, leader, whatever you call them. While these stories are dominating the trends and the headlines, well, actually, I shouldn't say headlines. They're dominating the trends and the interest of the public. The media and liberals are talking about one thing. Signal. Don't care. Literally, that story is over. And man, that story sure has distracted from what is going on with Trump's plan for mass deportations. So let's dive into this and the media narrative machine, how they're crafting the story, how they're framing what's going on, how they're actually protecting some of the worst criminals in this country. Trump is now calling on DOGE to pull back, get all the money back that was given for premium subscriptions to Politico and other platforms. And conservatives are calling for the defunding of NPR as it is revealed. Shocker. The CEO of NPR is very anti-Trump and extremely biased. I want to give a shout out to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club for the raid. Welcome to the Rumble Morning Lineup Live. I'm your host, Tim Pool, for this 12 o'clock noon hour. You can follow me on X and Instagram at TimCast. Before we get started, my friends, we have a great sponsor. It is Tax Network USA. Make sure you go to tnusa.com/Tim. My friends, the IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. And with April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever. In 2025, enforcement has ramped up. And if you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. The longer you do, the worse it gets. Ignoring your tax troubles is the worst thing you can do. April 15th marks another tax year that has passed you by. Getting ahead of this now is the smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Instead, let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Why? Because not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists today. It's free. Stop the threatening letters. Stop looking over your shoulder and protect yourselves from property seizures and bank levies. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Tim. April 15th is just around the corner, my friends, so don't wait. Shout out to Tax Network USA, but also don't forget, we got Cask Brew Coffee. And you know what we decided to do? We're ramping up our offer to all of our viewers. Use promo code RUMBLE30, 30% off all products, all subscriptions. That's right. Go to caskbrew.com, buy our coffee. We've got Ian's Graphene Dream, Appalachian Nights, 30% off everything if you use promo code RUMBLE30. But now let's get to the main story here, my friends. We got this viral video, the story from Vanity Fair, the liberal media losing their minds. So smash that like button, share this show right now. Shout out to the Rumble Morning Live for the largest live viewership that we've seen of any platform. It's really fantastic. Let's grab this news. Vanity Fair reports a Tufts student criticized Israel. Then the Trump administration disappeared her. I'd like to just say, Secretary of State has the right under the Immigration and Naturalization Act to rescind any visa at any time for any reason. Now, if they cite an actual reason, you're out. But if they cite no reason and simply mean to deport you, there is to be a hearing. Now, a judge has ordered that they not move this individual. However, I do believe currently the individual is in Louisiana, which I also believe is where Mahmoud Khalil is. We have the video for you here. Mediaite says disturbing video shows masked men hauling away pro-Palestine student, her whereabouts unknown. I think we can skip forward a little bit. Okay, here we go. It starts right away. So you can see these men, they were clearly waiting for her. The bottom left, it's kind of hard to see. I'd zoom in. Yo. So you can hear some muttering. It's kind of hard to hear exactly what they're talking about. But this is Rumeysa Ozturk, a Turkish citizen in the U.S. on a student visa. I got to tell you, I have very little sympathy on any of this stuff, my friends. Being in the United States is not a right. It is a privilege and is a benefit to you. Here's a story from the Washington Post. A security camera captured the moment a Tufts University student was arrested March 25th by DHS. They showed the unmarked car. This is a little quicker, and they zoom in. And a plainclothes officer. This woman is then approached, panics, and is arrested. Now, liberals are screaming about this, and the Israel critical right are also screaming about this, calling this Jewish fascism. Well, that's particularly, I think we have the tweet from Nick Fuentes, who says, we live under Jewish fascism, to 1.4 million views, referencing this post from AF Post of ICE arresting this individual. Now, I'm not so concerned about this one singular incident. It's being hammed up by many on the left because it's kind of a shocking video. Plainclothes officers grabbing somebody, it's perfect propaganda. The reality is many other students have been arrested like this, with Al Jazeera breaking it down. Here's the story from Al Jazeera. Who are the students Trump wants to deport? You've got Rumeysa Ozturk, Mahmoud Khalil, Badar Khan Suri, among several students. And now we have another report. U.S. immigration officials detain doctoral student at University of Alabama. Justification for the arrest not clear, as Trump admin increasingly targets students for arrest and deportation. Let's read what Vanity Fair has to say, and we'll break down their assessment of what we're currently seeing. Vanity Fair reports. Actually, they report nothing. Looks like I had this, to be honest. I did have the story pulled up, but I guess they locked it out. So they like to do that when you pull up the story, and then after a minute or so, it locks. But the Washington Post will break down for us instead. As Tufts University student Rumeysa Ozturk made her way to an interfaith center to break the Ramadan fast on Tuesday. Plainclothes officers, some masked, descended on her. The first thing I'd like to point out for those, I can assist in the media literacy. This is a biased article that violates the core tenets of journalism by immediately adding this: break the Ramadan fast on Tuesday. This is immaterial to the story, and it seeks to bias the reader, making it seem like the Trump administration is attacking people based on faith. A True News report would simply say, a university student from Tufts, Rumeysa Ozturk, was arrested today by ICE officers. That's it. You can then maybe add something the judge says if you want to add to it. But this information poisons the well. It is prejudicial. They're going to say she screamed as an unmasked officer in a hooded sweatshirt grabbed her. Security videos show. Within about a minute, the officers whisked her away in handcuffs. The widely circulated video of the officers, who Ozturk's lawyer said belonged to the Department of Homeland Security, sent shockwaves to the community as thousands turned out in Somerville, Massachusetts on Wednesday demanding her release. Ozturk, a 30-year-old from Turkey, is a Fulbright scholar doing a PhD in child study in human development on an F1 student visa at the Boston area university. Her lawyer, Masa Kanbabai, said in an email, "We should all be horrified at the way DHS spirited away Rumeysa in broad daylight." She wrote, adding that Ozturk has not been accused of committing any crime. I'd like to stress, there need not be accusations of a crime. So I think that's very silly. A federal district judge, considering a petition from her lawyer, ordered officers on Tuesday not to move the student out of Massachusetts without advance notice. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement detainee locator page showed Ozturk's location as Louisiana late Wednesday. DHS and ICE investigations found Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas. DHS said in an emailed statement, without sharing evidence of the claim or responding to questions about the video. It added that supporting terrorists is grounds for visa termination. President Trump has promised to deport international students he alleges are engaged in pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, anti-American campus protests over Israel's war in Gaza. But critics and lawyers for the students say they are being targeted for expressing their political beliefs and that the government is trampling on the First Amendment right to free speech. Trump sent masked law enforcement officers to arrest Rumeysa Ozturk, a Tufts University grad student with legal status without criminal charge. Senator Edward J. Markey wrote, "Disappearances like these are part of Trump's all-out assault on our basic freedoms." I'd like to stress, nobody was disappeared. She was simply arrested. But they're saying that because they're trying to ham this up. Now, I'm not a fan of this. It does seem a bit egregious. When it comes to Mahmoud Khalil, I can understand this. Those protests at various universities were violent. They seized buildings. You do not get to come here and cause problems and commit crimes. Okay? Just because we say you can peaceably assemble does not mean you can seize buildings. And it is the right of the government, the executive branch, to take away your status and send you home. As for this individual, Rumeysa Ozturk, and some of these others, it seems like this is largely political, in which case, now you're treading on thin ice. I understand why the Trump administration is doing it, but I'm not a fan of Trump simply saying we don't want anti-Israel sentiment. I can understand the argument. We don't want to invite foreign students into our country to protest against our foreign policy. That can actually affect our national security. But look, I got to be honest. As somebody who is largely critical of foreign intervention and the funding of foreign governments, much as I think, look, when it comes to October 7th, Israel, Palestine, I lean more towards Israel. I also, however, lean more towards I don't know why we're involved in the least bit and don't think we should be. So Donald Trump wants to provide this funding. I'll tell you this. First, Ukraine got more funding in 3 years than Israel's gotten in 60 or 70. That doesn't excuse the U.S. funding all of these foreign governments and their wars for which we should not be involved. In this instance, I don't much care for some Turkish students who's anti-Israel. But at the same time, I don't know why you deport them. Now, if this person turns out to have done something illegal, so be it. That's the way I'm kind of meh on the whole issue. I'm not going to come out and scream at cops or act like this is a disappearance. Somebody got arrested. Let me know what they're accused of or why. If Trump comes out and says they're anti-Israel, they wrote this pro-Hamas thing, I'm going to be like, that's stupid. They claimed at first that Mahmoud Khalil was aligned with Hamas. Stupid. I don't care for that. I don't. Someone's aligned with someone? Oh, please. The left screams that I'm aligned with Russia, even though I think Putin sucks. I think he's despotic. I think he wants to hold on to power. Don't trust the guy. It doesn't matter. That's stupid. Are they going to go and arrest people who are aligned with Russia because we don't want foreign intervention in Ukraine? I am playing that game. Next thing you know, you're going to have activists who are critical of the Ukraine war getting arrested and deported because they're being accused of being aligned with Russia. That being said, Mahmoud Khalil is accused of committing fraud. And some people are saying they're pulling this up after the fact, that Mahmoud Khalil was arrested for his anti-Israel activities. They then found something to justify it. Too bad. I mean, too bad. Bro, if you're going to come to this country and lie on your forms about who you work for, the security clearances you hold, you're going to get deported eventually. That's your fault. I'm interested in seeing what they have on this young woman and the rest of the people that they're going after. They're going to mention Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell said it was alarming the administration chose to ambush Ozturk. It looked like a kidnapping, blah, blah, blah. You're losing me. You're losing rational people. Bro, there are a lot of people in this country who don't want to see U.S. dollars used to fund foreign wars, be it Israel, Ukraine, or otherwise. You got an opportunity now to come to us and say, why are they deporting these people? Is the issue really political? Instead, you're playing up this leftist garbage victim talking point of kidnapping, ambush, and disappearing, and you're making me roll my eyes and want to disassociate. Annie Lai, law professor at University of California at Irvine, specializing in immigrant rights, said some of the officers in the video do not have anything on their clothing, a badge or writing on their vest, that identifies them as law enforcement or government officials. At one point in the video, an officer says, "We are the police." And you can clearly see the man appears to be holding a badge as he walks up to her. The fact that he did not say they were from DHS or ICE is concerning. Why? That's why I'm saying you're losing me. Most officers had their faces covered, or they covered them during the arrest. This gives people the sense they can be taken without knowing who is taking them and why. That should be deeply alarming. The Turkish embassy said it was trying with U.S. authorities to ensure that Ozturk's rights were being protected and that it was updating her family. Tufts University President Sunil Kumar said the school has learned the student's visa had been terminated. The university had no pre-knowledge of the incident and did not share any information with federal authorities prior to the event. University leaders, including Kumar, said the school was offering support to its community, blah, blah, blah. I don't care for this. Whiny leftists, we need safe space rooms. Somebody got arrested. Cry more. Well, here we go. Al Jazeera mentions there are 3 people currently on the list, but there is another individual, an unnamed Iranian student. Al Jazeera reports, who are the students Trump wants to deport? First, we'll start here. Why does Trump want to deport U.S. students? The Trump admin alleges the students who participated in the pro-Palestine protests spread anti-Semitism and pro-Hamas sentiment on campus. A claim students, lawyers, and activists have all rebutted. Jewish activists and groups have been at the forefront of many of the most prominent protests in the U.S. Against the Gaza war. Fake news poisoning the well. There are groups that are Jewish, but largely Jewish individuals have been opposed to these protests, not in support of them. On January 29th, Trump signed an executive order titled Additional Measures to Combat Anti-Semitism, in which he ordered the head of each executive department or agency to submit a report within 60 days on all criminal and civil authorities and actions available for fighting anti-Semitism. The White House published a fact sheet a day after this order. In the fact sheet, Trump said, quote, "To all the resident aliens who joined in the pro-jihadist protests, we put you on notice. Come 2025, we will find you, we will deport you. I will also quickly cancel the student visas of all Hamas sympathizers on college campuses, which have been infested with radicalism like never before." His administration has since targeted multiple international students and scholars in the U.S. Now on to this individual, the latest individual, Rumeysa Ozturk. They're going to mention the story, and we get it. Now, why is it happening? On March 26, 2024, Ozturk wrote an opinion piece for her university's student news website, the Tufts Daily, with 4 of their students. In this piece, the authors criticized the institute's president, Sunil Kumar, who sent an email dismissing resolutions passed by the Tufts Community Union Senate, which called for the university to divest from companies linked to Israel and acknowledge the Palestinian genocide. Ozturk's lawyer, Kana Babai, followed a petition in Boston federal court late on Tuesday. This we know. DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin wrote in an X post Wednesday, DHS and ICE investigations found Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas. a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans. McLaughlin did not specify what these activities were. A visa is a privilege, not a right. Glorifying and supporting terrorists who kill Americans is grounds for visa issuance to be terminated. This is a common sense security. Yeah, I don't care. I'll say it right now. Personally, I am not a fan of going after people because they support Israel. That being said, if you want to play games, what do we say, FAFO? These individuals are here on visas they know can be revoked at any time. They have decided to get political and enter the culture war fray on one of the most significant issues of our generation. Israel, Palestine, and U.S. support. The reason why I'd say it's one of the most significant issues is we've got a major split across all factions as to whether people support or oppose. Moderate liberals support, but the left largely is critical of Israel. On the right, moderates largely support, but the further right, I don't even know if further right's the right way to describe it, but there is the Israel critical right. And then, of course, on both sides, you have the quote unquote, the Jews people. So it's a contentious issue nonetheless. You want to come to this country? I tell you this, I don't care about your political opinions. It is a privilege. You are being given a gift. Welcome to America. You're not a citizen. If you act up and want to speak up and cause problems in any way, you're getting deported. That's just what's going to happen. And if Trump goes after every single student who's on a visa who gets political, I'm not going to cry about it. To be fair, I might mutter some, I don't know about that, but that's about it. Because it is a privilege. You don't get to just come to our country and start engaging in our political process. Furthermore, I believe you should not be allowed to be a judge in this country if you were not born in this country. That's what they say for the president. You're allowed every other position as a foreign-born individual so long as you're naturalized. I think we should make it so that if you want to be in any position in any political position, you must have been born in this country. We've got members of Congress and judges who are not American, and look, it's fair to say their allegiance is not entirely to this country. I'm not saying that to drag or insult or disrespect. I actually think it is the right approach for the individual. The argument I often make, let's say you're an immigrant to this country. You come here legally. I support people coming here legally. If you want to engage in politics that negatively impact our country and the will of the American people, don't be surprised if you're gone, if you get deported. But I'll put it this way. Imagine this. Big empty field. Guy settles it. 100 years later, small town. Guy decides to build a baseball field. He brings his son to play baseball. Everybody in the community comes, and now baseball is happening in this small town. 2 generations go by. A man now sees the baseball field in disrepair. He's got his own kid. His dad played ball with him. His granddad played ball with his dad. And he says, I want this repaired. He goes to the city town hall meeting and says, let's allocate funds to repair this baseball field. Everybody cheers and claps. They vote. 49% say repair the baseball field. 51% say do not. Why? Well, in the prior years, Joe Biden brought in several thousand non-citizens through a protected temporary system. This was legal. He made a legal process for it. These individuals then vote reasonably and rationally. They say, we don't need a baseball field. We need a migrant welcome center to help the people who are coming into this community. They outvote the people who live there. Here's the problem. We want to encourage a society where people will plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit beneath. And a man who builds a baseball field for his children and his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, if you were to tell them in a generation or two, the government will bring in a large portion of non-citizens, those people will vote to destroy your baseball field and create a migrant center. He's going to say, why build the baseball field in the first place then? He's going to say, what? Or he's going to say, we must resist that. The issue is, those migrants who vote for the Welcome Center are not wrong. They're not wrong. You're just creating a scenario with mass migration where individuals have allegiances to their families as they should. As long as we acknowledge that, we can balance the interests of the American people and those who want to build a great country and the new folks we welcome into this country. But what happens then if you get a 50-50 split and it goes to court and they say there's contention over whether we should fund the migrant center or the baseball field? if you have an American-born judge who grew up in this community, he's going to say it is this community's tradition and desire for the long-standing baseball field to exist. Gavel bang. What if he's also a migrant, naturalized citizen, and he says, I experienced the challenges of moving to this country. My family still to this day does. My parents may want to move here too. Migrant center, bang. It's not a question of right or wrong. It's a question of where we align our interests. When we prioritize the political interests of non-citizens, you will have a country where people do not invest in it. So we need to make sure politically we weigh the interests of American citizens, then permanent residents and naturalized non-native born citizens. In my opinion, judges, members of Congress, the Senate, and the president should be born in America. So that means your parents may be immigrants. You will still vote and judge in favor of your parents and your extended family. But at the very least, you were born here, creating an anchor and tether to the foundation of this country. I think what we're seeing largely in this country is due to the fact that political power is being held largely by people who are not from here. With all due respect to Ro Khanna, he's a good dude. I respect him. His parents are not from here. So when he comes to a vote in Congress, he told us he wants to prioritize non-citizens and illegal immigrants. I think that is a detriment to the foundations of a country and the individuals who planted those trees, whose shade they know they will never sit beneath. But again, I can say this as we move on in this story. I ask you, what do you think? Because I don't think I'm wrong. But I know there's going to be a lot of people on the left saying it's white nationalism, it's other garbage. I reject all of that. It's nonsense. They say anybody who wants to maintain tradition, their moral traditions, their values, their country, baseball, Christmas morning, apple pie, they say you're a white supremacist. I say, away with ye, you are a hypocrite and a liar. I think traditions matter. And I think that the Western traditions have given us the greatest society and civilization, but are beginning to falter. And it's going to require strong men to stand up and say, we must restore what made America great and make it great again. Now we have this story from The Guardian. U.S. immigration officials detain doctoral student at University of Alabama. I'm not going to go into deep detail on this, as I think you mostly get the point on the immigration story. But this is another individual. They say this is an Iranian individual. The spokesperson for the state's flagship university said in a brief statement, the student was arrested off campus by federal immigration officials, but declined to comment further. The U.S. government's justification for detaining the student was not immediately clear. ICE did not respond to a request. We are going to see things like this happening all across the board. If you come to this country and you are a guest and you engage in politics, Trump's going to ask you to go home. I don't know why you think you just deserve to get to come here. My grandfather, World War II veteran. For many of you watching who are older, your parents, World War II veterans. For some of you who are younger, your great-grandparents. World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, etc., etc. The people who came before us fought and died, sometimes for poor reasons, sometimes for the right reasons. Blood and treasure was sacrificed to make this country what it is. So when you come here as a guest to reap the bounty of men and women who died and sacrificed for this nation, I only ask you have respect for those who came before you and the children for whom they sacrificed. So when I come to West Virginia, I seek to be minimally political, although I am a little bit. I ask the locals what they think, because there are people in West Virginia who sacrificed for this state. I didn't. I just moved here, and I'm still an American. I got a right to live where I want to live, right? But I still want to respect the traditions and values of those who came before me. All I ask is that the migrants do the exact same thing. I'll tell you one of the big problems. Many of these migrants who come to the United States do so with the express and explicit intent to affect our foreign policy. So when you see Muslim women from Turkey coming to this country like Rumeysa, I believe her name, Ozturk, and then she writes and drafts papers about Israel being bad, you have to wonder, are these people coming here with the explicit intent to disrupt American foreign policy in the Middle East? I do not like the funding of Israel. I like Israel. I do. I've been there. I've been to Tel Aviv. Beautiful. The food's great. The people were nice. I think it's a great nation. I know a lot of people get mad about that, and it's a contentious issue. I don't want to give them a penny. I say, Israel, how nice of you. Bye. People are going to say, yeah, but Tim, what about they're bombing Palestine? Not a fan of these military operations completely. But at the same time, I'm an American. I'm not going to pretend to understand the deep complexities and the nuances of every Middle Eastern country. I can tell you this. We shouldn't have gotten involved in Afghanistan. We shouldn't have gotten involved in Iraq twice. All of this is the neo-lib, neocon establishment garbage, which sacrificed the American people and the dream that my grandparents and my ancestors fought for and died for. It sacrifices all of that for the liberal economic order so that the U.S. can have military bases all across Europe and the Middle East, so that we can be the global police and have global dominance. That's never what the American people were striving for. It's what the machine state was built upon. The Federal Reserve, the Atlantic Council, the Council on Foreign Relations, all of these individuals, they want to see unipolar American hegemonic power. You know what? I got to be honest. I'm kind of largely apathetic to that worldview, so long as they do right by the American people and don't bring us into foreign wars. I actually don't care all that much if we've got U.S. troops overseas in South Korea, Japan, or Poland or Lithuania. The problem is these things tend to drag us into war and conflict. If they secured our borders, treated our people right, protected our traditional values, our moral values, helped to expand culture and believed in this country, had it in our universities, I'd be happy as a pig in ish. Try not to swear, you get it. I have criticisms about foreign policy. I don't want our resources as Americans and our good men and women to be sacrificed for hegemonic authority in a unipolar world. Look, I don't want China to take over either, but they have abandoned the American people for this garbage. They have lied to the American people for this garbage. They've got us entangled in Ukraine for what? Cheaper gas for Europe? Europe doesn't remunerate. Europe isn't paying for their defense. We are. I'd like to see our border secure, our schools improved. I'd like to see jobs in this country, but they've outsourced our jobs, destroyed our manufacturing, destroyed the auto industry, taken away the middle class's opportunities. They've created an oligopoly. The left pretends to fight, but they don't. The outsourcing of jobs has empowered the people who run the companies and the shareholders, not the working class. Donald Trump, imperfect guy, sometimes a little blockheaded. And you know what's funny? Sometimes the people he appoints all the same. But at least you can argue 51% at least of their agenda is on making the American worker's life better and the American people's. From Axios, Trump's pro-Hamas purge could block foreign students from colleges. And now we're going beyond just taking these students out and sending them home. Now they're saying we ain't going to be issuing visas for them. AF Post, of course, I showed you, and now we are here. Donald Trump's response to the current state. I really don't want to talk about Signal, my friends. It is the stupidest non-story. I ain't got much more to add. But I can say, smash the like button, share the show, do all that good stuff. Follow me on X and Instagram. Don't forget to support Tax Network USA and castbrew.com, promo code RUMBLE30. Rumble 30 for those who want to get 30% off your coffee at castbrew.com. Here's a story from MSNBC. Trump officials draw judge from deportation case in Signal chat lawsuit. Oh boy. The Trump administration this week invoked state secrets privilege to try and keep U.S. District Judge James Boasberg from further investigating whether the government violated its orders on deportations. Blah, blah, blah. Where we're currently at with this, Trump sounds off on highly conflicted Obama-nominated judge assigned Signal chat lawsuit. Disgraceful. Trump called for Boasberg to be impeached earlier this month. You know, I'm for it. I was reading from the Federalist. that 1/3 of DC judges are foreign born. I got no beef with people who are foreign born. I respect it. I was saying this the other day. Here's my deal. I got a question for you guys, my friends. I got a question for you guys. My deal is this. Every single illegal immigrant, every single one. Let's do the high round number. 20 million illegal immigrants. Except for the criminals in Tren de Aragua and MS-13. Every single one of them, I say, we give permanent citizenship. That's right, you heard me. Permanent citizenship. Immediately. Now hold on before you all lose your minds. I'm drawing the suspense up. Only if every leftist leaves in exchange. Because I got to be honest. I can deal with apolitical criminal aliens who only care about America's a good economy. I can't deal with the far leftists who are trying to burn the country down. I'm kidding, by the way. It's meant to be a joke, but the idea is this. If we took 70 million far left lunatics out of the country and had only 20 million illegal immigrants, then the country turns bright red instantly. The debate becomes more of moderate liberals and conservatives. Back to reality. The communists are all gone, and the illegal immigrants are here, not the criminals. Well, they're all criminals, to be honest, but not the actual violent ones. The ones who came here for economics, at the very least, they're not going to outvote any of us. So I'm kidding, though. My attitude is the bigger problem we have is cultural. We get 20 million. I think it's fair to estimate a little lower than that, but some people say 20. I think it's probably 11 or 12 illegal immigrants because the far left brings them in to exploit the system. So the reasonable solution is American citizens have dumb opinions sometimes, the leftists. They're allowed to be here. You're allowed to be stupid. But we are going to deport these criminal aliens. Now, Trump is pissed because somehow we get the same judge on 4 cases. That don't make sense, does it? So here's the post from Donald Trump on Truth. He writes, how disgraceful is it that Judge James Boasberg has just been given a 4th Trump case, something which is statistically impossible. There is no way for a Republican, especially a Trump Republican, to win before him. He is highly conflicted, not only on his hatred of me, massive Trump derangement syndrome, but also because of disqualifying family conflicts. Boasberg, who is the chief judge of the D.C. District Court, seems to be grabbing the Trump cases all to himself, even though it's not supposed to happen this way. Is there still such a thing as the wheel, where the judges are chosen fairly and at random? The good news is that it probably doesn't matter because it is virtually impossible for me to get an honest ruling in D.C. Our nation's courts are broken, with New York and D.C. being the most preeminent of all in their corruption and radicalism. There must be an immediate investigation of this rigged system before it's too late. You know, I got to be honest. I don't know what actually matters, Trump. I think Trump should just defy the orders. I think if the orders extend beyond the purview of the judge, then or his jurisdiction, ignore it. Trump can invoke state secrets. He can invoke privilege whenever he can, and he should. I think he absolutely should. I refer to this as wartime, and that is a president must act with commensurate powers to those being waged against this country to preserve the union. As we are not in kinetic conflict, you don't need to do anything drastic that violates the Constitution, like Abraham Lincoln did. I know, I reference him a lot, right? Donald Trump need only say, I'll see you in court. Denied. Trump could simply say, I have heard the ruling of this court. Now let him, or here we go. I have heard the ruling of Judge Boasberg. Now have him enforce it. Thank you. Have a nice day. What are you going to do about it? Now, I think Trump wants to avoid too much because there's always a political consequence. The midterms are coming up. Fine. But I will say this of the signal thing. As much as I literally don't care, it's not a story. The Democrats are acting like it's the apocalypse. And I got to be honest, there's even moderates who are like, this is crazy that it happened. Guys, moderates, please. The government loops in journalists on these things all the time. At bare minimum, it's that was stupid. Anyway, we move on. What I would say of this is it distracts. And Donald Trump needs distractions. So when you get these big stories, when they're sending plainclothes officers to arrest students, that's a big story. the left can't muster it up. You know why? Poor Washington Post. They tried, my friends. They try. The Washington Post wants to bring this story up. Mediaite does as well. Everybody wants to talk about it. Unfortunately for you, CNN only cares about Signalgate because it makes Trump look stupid. So maybe they'd be able to get the word out if they weren't so distracted. Well, moving on, let's talk about how the narrative machine structures everything, though I think it's being crushed. Donald Trump says NPR and PBS, two horrible and completely biased platforms, should be defunded by Congress immediately. Republicans don't miss this opportunity to rid our country of this giant scam. Both being arms of the radical left Democratic Party, just say no and make America great again. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you one of the greatest videos we have ever seen in congressional history. Rep. Tim Burchett calling out the current CEO of NPR. I believe that's Catherine Marr. I'd like to show you her Wikipedia real quick so you understand who she is. She is the president and CEO of NPR, and she's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations who worked at UNICEF and the National Democratic Institute. Let's roll. I won't play the full thing. I'll play some of it.
And did you say there's no bias on NPR?
That is not a
That is not a
NPR.
biased statement, ma'am. That is not even both parties wrap themselves around this song every time there's a national conflict. Lee Greenwood sings it, and he does a beautiful job. But you say there is no bias in NPR.
That is that individual's opinion, and she, of course, is entitled to it. But that is not the position of NPR.
Ma'am, you said in your opening statement that you were going to be transformative. And I believe you failed to do that. Let me ask you, why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today. They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that I believe that the president had said rather than who he is. I don't presume that anyone is a racist.
You don't believe anyone is a racist?
I don't start by presuming anyone is a racist, sir.
Okay. Has NPR or PBS ever conducted an internal review to assess whether conservative or right-leaning perspectives are fairly representative news and programming?
Congressman, what we look at is the distribution of people who listen to our work, and we can tell you, and I'm proud to tell you, that for our digital,
this is amazing,
our podcasts and our website, the distribution of Americans who come to NPR does reflect the political distribution of the nation. In fact, the distribution on our websites, 33% of folks who come are conservative versus 28% who are liberal, and the rest identify as independent. So the largest group is conservatives who come to NPR's websites.
And it's funny because the question was about her bias. And I think I have another tweet. Here we go. The question was about her bias. And she responds by saying, conservatives watch NPR. Lady, conservatives watch NPR, I should say listen to NPR and read NPR, and they rag on you all the time for being biased. That's why Burchett is asking you this. Yes, we get it. Conservatives are more likely to read the news from liberal outlets and conservative outlets, and liberals don't read the news at all. Now this one, holy crap. This is really an amazing takedown.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it.
Wow.
You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that America is a...
There's more to this, but talk about amazing work. This woman, so I see people in the chat are already mentioning that she's, someone said she's on the board of the Signal Foundation. There you go. She's the board of directors at the Signal Foundation. Come on, man. Come on. That's all I got to say. Okay? So Elon Musk has got this salute emoji American flag tweet. Look how many layers to this tweet I have. Trump's truth post, Gunther Eagleman's response, and Elon Musk's salute. Donald Trump says, whatever happened to the $8 million given by our government to the radical left political magazine, or whatever you'd call it, owned by wealthy guys? This money should be taken back by DOGE ASAP. Also, is Stacey Abrams going to give back the $2 billion they funneled into her environmental fund just prior to my assuming office? She went from $100 in donations to $2 billion in one day. Not bad. Get back the money. Gunther says Trump just directed DOGE to rescind what money they can from news outlets like Politico and Stacey Abrams. They should have never been given the money. Indeed, my friends, highly conflicted. We are in an administrative conflict. Call it whatever you want. Trump is going to keep getting assigned to activist judges. That was the plan. We talked about it last year. If Donald Trump wins, do you think they will simply just roll over and let him do whatever he wants? That being said, it's kind of feeling like we're winning, And I'm glad because, talk of civil war, kinetic conflict have been ongoing for some time. While I think it's fair that a lot of people will point to me and say, Tim, you talk about it quite a bit, I didn't make it up, as I often say, and there are many other individuals building a career off it. Notably, that woman, what's her name? CIA, is it Barbara something? Is it, yeah, that's her name, Barbara F. Walters. I was kind of confused, is it really Barbara Walters? She gives speeches. She wrote a book. This is her whole thing. But I'm wondering now, if Trump does win, are we looking at remnants of the empire scattering, being splintered into the wind? Maybe. This means Trump's going to have a rough go of it, but we're going to avoid the worst of the conflict. That being said, I don't know for sure. Strauss-Howe generational theory predicts in the next couple of years, maybe 1 or 2, it's going to get crazy. And it's kind of hard to argue against, I suppose. We had the American Revolution, and it's not even about the foundation of this country, but we had the American War for Independence, a 20-year period of conflict. 80 years later, the Civil War. 80 years later, we had, and actually what people need to understand is the Civil War wasn't just 1861 to 1865. You had 7 years of bleeding Kansas. These are decades-long periods. We then had World Wars I and II. And now, 80 years later, the question is, will something happen? Well, it is. We are in some kind of 4th or 5th generational conflict. This means insurgency, which we are seeing from the far left. It means we're seeing, in the 5th generation, psyops and public manipulation campaigns. We are dealing with administrative conflicts internally. That's less alarming, but still pretty serious. I mean, like judges is less alarming, but the trying to imprison Donald Trump is extremely alarming. And his lawyers, and his supporters, and his cabinet. I'm hoping, and maybe I'm being naive, that the current direction we're headed in is the back end. We're going to get resistance, but it's weak and it will fail. Trump signed an executive order requiring citizenship to vote. You've got the defunding of USAID and the NGO machine. Trump is ripping to shreds the Democrat, I don't even want to say Democrat, the uniparty election machine, so they cannot muster up a defense. So what happens? Will Trump leave the White House in 2029, January 20th, as having succeeded, as being a hero who repaired this country? Or will the uniparty machine launch its counteroffensive and then criminally charge him? He's going to be an old man. But I'm kind of leaning towards, I think we may avoid the worst of things. What makes it hard for me to believe is that we're seeing an escalation in violence. We're seeing the administrative state strike back. And I don't know why this pattern of every 80 years there being a conflict would break right now. Save communications. In the past wars, World War II, Civil War, Revolution, we didn't have light speed communications with cell phones and radio, and that can dramatically alter people's willingness to engage in conflict in ways we don't understand, either speeding it up or slowing it down. So all I can really say is, my friends, We'll see. In the meantime, this country, if it's to survive, needs a strong social cohesion. Donald Trump needs to deport illegal immigrants, and there needs to be criminal action taken against the left, and the media needs to be brought to heel. I believe we need to ban pharmaceutical ads. I tell you this right now. Liz Wheeler made a great post about it, but it's right. I watch Fox News. Every other commercial is a drug. You take away pharmaceutical ads, watch the corporate narrative machine implode. No more sponsorships for big tech social platforms. No more TV. We gut it. It is a largely government-funded machine. Medicare, Medicaid, and all the other things creates a loop of when the government gives money and subsidizes these programs, those programs buy ads. The media networks then try to perpetuate a narrative to protect those who give them money. I say, shut it down. And people are like, but Tim, the First Amendment. And I'm like, do you want to win or not? It's up to you. I think we should not be advertising any prescription medications. So I don't, and I won't. I got no problem with supplements. I am perturbed at the FDA classifying nicotinamide mononucleotide as a drug under investigation because it is largely just a supplement, but whatever. But there are a lot of people that want to sell you drugs, man. And I think the drugs are bad, okay? I think what we need is fitness, health, proper diet, exercise. Let's bring back that national program where we have young people exercise, that presidential fitness program. Let's do things like that. My friends, smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. We're going to grab your Rumble rants right now and read what you guys have to say. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. And I recommend this. Join Rumble Premium. Go to rumble.com/TimcastIRL. And we've got the Green Room podcast Monday through Friday. Hang out behind the scenes with us and our crew before the show starts. Uncensored. People kind of say whatever they want. Show does pretty well on Rumble. They feature us, but it's great. And you can also get our uncensored show. But more importantly, do not just be a passive observer of the news. Join the Timcast Discord server at timcast.com. Click join us. There's the Discord server. Get involved. It's a chat room. Tens of thousands of people all hanging out every day. If you're sitting at home and you're watching this on your TV or you're sitting on your couch, you've got ideas. I know you do. And it may be a single sentence you thought of. That's it. You may think, I don't actually want to be involved. But that single sentence idea could change the world so long as you drop that idea into the pool of our Discord community and those who are actively participating. You come into that Discord and you say, guys, have you considered this? You know what? Some people might say, yep, we did. Sometimes they might say, actually, that's a really good point no one thought of. And then other people start sharing that idea. And then one day, a year from now, Donald Trump is on stage saying what you thought of. But as it goes, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, my friends. So I just recommend this. Get involved any way you can. I think we only have a couple of Rumble rants, to be honest. Literally. I see only a few of them. So if you want to get those in right now, I'm going to read them. And then we're going to blast you guys off to Russell Brand, who I believe will have the next stream up. Liberate USA says, do you do coffee subscriptions so you don't have to order it all the time? Indeed, good sir. Let's grab that old Cast Brew right there. Check it out. Not only do we have the Cast Brew Coffee Club, you get a mix. Changes every time. And it is funny that there's only 257 left in stock, I guess. $40 a month. And after a year, you get a permanent discount. So basically the way it works, I think is that how it works? I think the discount's supposed to be greater than that. Initially a $0 and then $1. We'll figure out how to increase that. I don't know. The idea is if you're a subscriber to the Cast Brew Coffee Club, after a certain amount of time, the price starts going down. So if you've been subscribed for over a year, we give you the premium, bro, thank you so much. But you can go to any one of our coffees like Alex Stein's Primetime Grind, and I'm pretty sure you can order it on, I don't know how to do it. You add to cart, and then how do you do subscriptions on this thing? What am I doing wrong? You should be able to set it up as a subscription. I don't know. All I know is you guys do. Man, I'm really bad at this, right? Shipping, dimensions, whatever. But I'll tell you this. Use promo code RUMBLE30, 30% off. Every time. Every time for you guys on Rumble. And subscriptions. So if you join any of these subscriptions, apparently I don't know how to actually buy a subscription, but we got coffee pods too. 30% off. Make it cheap for you. All right. It's the 90s says, I'm Native American, and I believe we need to maintain our American culture and stop importing foreigners. We're full. Bro, I'm actually super down with the Native American stuff too, because that's part of America as well. That's what I was saying about Assassin's Creed. In the Assassin's Creed video game based on the American Revolution, you play as a Native American guy. And I'm like, yo, that's America too. We came to this country. There was war, there was conflict, but not always. Sometimes the Native Americans, they helped us out. Now they're building casinos. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I'm a fan. I really am. I love this story. I really do. You have the first Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims were dying. Native Americans were like, yo, check this out. Popcorn. And we were like, based. Maple syrup. Let's go. Let's take a look at the Native American casinos. I am a big fan. I really am. I think people got to gamble responsibly, but let me put it this way. You've got these Native American reservations, this narrative of a conquered land. Did the Native Americans start launching missiles into our cities? No. Did they start running around chopping people's heads off? No. Don't get me wrong. We had war and conflict before, but I'm saying in modern times. Yo, they were like, hey, let's start businesses. It all started with Seminole in Florida. The Native Americans, they had a bingo hall. The state said, that's gambling. You can't do that. They said, we're federal, baby. You can't regulate us. Federal court said, that's true. The state has no jurisdiction over this. They abide by federal law. So then they were like, let's go. And they opened the Seminole Casino in Florida. Native American tribes across the country said, let's open casinos. Now, I kind of don't like the expansion of casinos, don't get me wrong, but think about it. A group of people that are supposedly oppressed, who had their land stolen from them, instead said, let's start a business, sell a product, and get rich. Yo. Bro, I love it. You might argue that casinos are bad and they harm the community, but I'm like, if the great revenge of the oppressed Native American is to create entertainment, to allow Americans to enjoy their weekends, party, see shows, have fine dining, and they get rich off of it, I'm like, oh no. See, that's an amazing story right there. And not every Native American tribe or reservation has done something like this, but I deeply respect that I do. And that's a part of America all the same, my friends. I think we got a couple more super chats. What have we here? Amtrue says, don't try impeaching the judges, defund them and abolish the court, not the judge. The whole court. Congress has the power. I hear that. One of the arguments being made is that if we defund the courts, we take away their ability to actually function, and it brings them to heel. Congress has the power of the purse. Republicans have Congress. Tim's final graphics card says, will you ever have Russell on IRL? Anytime he wants. We were talking to him about it a while. Corn Pop says, blast me off, Tim. No. But welcome to the chat. Jago Dragon says, have you looked into the final rule from the Fed that dictates RF antenna tech is military tech and must not be manufactured or designed in China or Russia? It's hitting the auto industry hard right now. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, my friends, I believe we are just about at that time where we're going to send you off to Russell Brand to all hang out. Super excited. I don't think he's live just quite yet, but he will be soon. So we're going to prepare to launch that raid, setting it up right now. I'll have the link in the actual, here we go. Confirm the raid to old Russell Brand. Russell, shout out. Big fan of your show. He's a good dude. Appreciate him. And we're going to then drop that link in there for you guys, and we'll have that pinned to the top so you can see it. But that about does it for this morning show. I've been working too much. Look at my throat's on fire. So adding this hour-long show to my day may be melting my throat, but it's okay. I got lozenges, ibuprofen, cherry juice, and we'll figure it out. Follow me on X and Instagram at TimCast. Make sure you use promo code RUMBLE30 if you'd like to get coffee at a discount, 30% off all castbrew.com products. Thanks for hanging out. We're back tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the Culture War podcast. It's going to be epic. We will be debating, and we will join the Rumble lineup in the second hour at noon. So, my friends, thank you all so much for hanging out. Stay tuned to Russell Brand. The raid has been launched, and we will see you all next time.